yeah? Nice. How you doing? Right, who's first? Hello, mate.
Where are we starting? Dan?
It's Dan. Hello, mate. Yep.
Starting first of all, what did you make of the performance overall?
I thought we started well. I felt we matched them physically. There's been a lot of talk around, I think I heard tactically around their rotations in midfield, but we just need to be a little bit braver in the jump. But their plan was to pull us in to go over us 1v1s on the halfway line. So all in all, I think, I wanted us to be kind of with the ball brave. I wanted to take them. I think they dribbled and jawed better than us a little bit more, which they pay for. So credit to them. Congratulations to them on the season they've had. But yeah, I think we could have been better in those moments. But again, Dan, it comes down to the game has swung on set pieces, and it's a penalty that's poor from us, and again a set piece that's poor from us. And I'm not blaming the set piece; it's concentration and player individuality within that. So we've got work to do.
How do you kind of sum that up, the set pieces? Because obviously, across the season you've been so good defensively, but in these games against Chelsea you've been undone kind of, 3-4 times across the games.
Yeah, they're pretty good at them, Dan. They're pretty good. They've got monsters in there. So, yeah, you give up something, they can attack a different zone. They've got quality on delivery. It's not easy, is the answer. When you deliver set pieces, you can do them for days and days, and then they find a different space. So you've just got to, in the moment, take responsibility. And I think from the young team that I've got, I think their experience will grow from this moment. I see Anna Sandberg at the end who's distraught. She's in a big final, but she'll learn from it. There's loads and loads of learning opportunities. As disappointed as I am, we've had a fantastic season. We've had a fantastic season to do what we've done and get into Champions League qualification again. We've had a fantastic season. So those moments will fix, I have no doubt. It will change again next year, Dan. It always does. But I think in big moments, we have to make sure we take individual responsibility.
Emma?
By the way, guys, you don't have to say commiserations. It's fine. It's fine. I get it. We lost.
Can I just ask about Ella Toon? Obviously, she wasn't in the starting 11. What was the thinking behind that one?
Well, if you watch Chelsea, and we've played them 3 times, when they play Cuthbert, it's to boot our midfielders. And she's a much better player than that. She's a great player, but they try and physically dominate you in midfield. So I felt that if we started the game without physically matching them, then I felt that we wouldn't have a foothold in the game. It's pretty balanced first half. I know they had a bit of territory. And we had to defend, but I don't think either keeper really had to do that much. So it was about balancing for the right time. So what I didn't like against Arsenal, was that we didn't have much change. There wasn't nothing to come into the game, so it couldn't really make us better. So yeah, it was, it was nothing. It wasn't personal. It was more about the right opportunity to change the game, and I felt that Tuna could do that from the second half. So just so happens at half time we take an injury to Millie and she has to come out, so we have to adapt anyway. So, but it was more about game plan. It's very difficult to go toe-to-toe with Chelsea, especially in the final. So we had to try and find the ability to adapt the game and change it. So that's the sole reason, tactical.
Sure, you will be expecting this, but Chelsea's board obviously turned out in numbers, new investors.
Mm-hmm.
Alexis, Serena flew over from the US to be here.
Yeah.
So Jim Rackliffe wasn't here yet again. He was obviously criticised heavily last year for not being here.
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't he here, and how do you feel about that?
In all honesty, I don't know why Jim wasn't here, so I can't give you that answer. But we were really well represented. Like Omar's up there. Omar, we've got the Glazer family in a massive support, and obviously Jason's up there as well. So I know we're trying to find a story, but we've just lost the final. And from my perspective, I don't know the answer to that. And how I feel about that is I've just lost the final, but our club is really well represented. So, and those are the people that I kind of deal with every day. So that's the people I need to be in. They need to see that for us to be able to look at what we need to do to close a growing gap in finance that Chelsea obviously have. So, yeah, I don't really feel like I don't know the answer. You'd have to ask that, but I feel like we were really well supported from the club.
I appreciate, as you said, it's an FA Cup final, but arguably that's more reason to talk about it because you've reached this stage. It's such a pinnacle of the game, and obviously, one of the co-owners of the club hasn't been here.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you say you don't work with them on an everyday basis, but surely that is a concern for, the women's side of Manchester United, that somebody as high profile, so Jim Rackliffe, doesn't feel the need to be here.
Potentially that's the angle you want to talk about. For me, the reality is that it's the investment in the team that needs to happen. It's not whether you're visible. I get you, the representation of visibility is how you see it, but as long as our club and team is being invested in, that is also a way of showing your support for the team. So for us, we need to close that gap. And again, as I say, Omar is a key player in what we do. Jason is a key player in the football side of what we do, and they were here. And obviously the Glazer family are key players in what we do still. So for us, I understand the angle. I don't know the reason why Jim wasn't here, but as long as the club continues to invest in the right way that we need to do to close that gap, then they're still showing the support in that way. And I really think that's a pertinent point. Visibility is key, and I get that they're flown over. Let's see how many times they fly over in the season for Chelsea, because it's a final, so it's easy for them to do so. And credit to them by that. It's not, that's them. But from my perspective, I feel the support, and we need to show it in the right way in the summer, I think, in order for us to close that gap.
Appreciate your answers.
Thank you, Em.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark. Hi.
Hello.
Just going back to Ella, I appreciate you gave the explanation of tactics, but obviously she's got a bit of a knack for delivering at Wembley that we've seen before, both for England and Man United.
Yeah.
Does that come into your thinking at all when you're selecting a team?
Of course it does. Yeah, of course it does. The reality is, though, Kit, we've also played Chelsea, and in the season, I felt that there were moments in that game where, the first game, Tooney didn't play, she was injured when we played them away. And then second game, we played them, and I felt that we had, was one of our best performances ever against Chelsea. So from our perspective, there was rationale for us to do that. Yes, she can. Of course she can. She's an incredible player, but we also need to be in the game for 90 minutes, not just little flashes that, unfortunately, we wasn't able to deliver today.
And just also to go on stuff with Sir Jim, would you have expected an explanation for why he wasn't here? Or
I would never get that explanation. That's not. It wouldn't come to me. That would come to the people around me. I'm here to work with the team, so I wouldn't expect. I don't know the rationale. Maybe we'll talk about that in the summer. I don't know. But reality was, I felt that we were well supported from the club.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kit.
Tom, can I just say I don't think we need any more Jim questions.
Yeah, I think
Mark's clearly explained. We have been focusing very heavily this week on the actual match and not about who's going to be here and who's not going to be here. So I don't think we need any more questions on it. He said what he needs to say. Okay.
Mark, what did Ella say when you told her that she wasn't playing today? How did she take the news?
Yeah, we met, of course, because I do that in person. And look, Tooney's my vice captain. She understands the situation. She'll be extremely disappointed not to start. That's the nature of the person. So yeah, she took the information, and that was it, Tom. That's part and parcel of making decisions in this game. It's not nice. It's not a nice place to be, especially in big finals. But I always knew that Tooney could come into the game and make a difference. So that was always the plan.
Please, can I ask a more broad question about Chelsea's sort of dominance now? I think there was maybe a sentiment last season that Emma Hayes is moving on, end of an era, maybe it's a chance for others, and they've only gone and got stronger. It's an unbeaten domestic season. How concerned are you by that? Can the gap be closed, not just by yourselves, but everybody to Chelsea?
I think I've answered this, not today, Tom, but I'll answer it again. The honesty is, I don't know. I've got to find Manchester United's way in the summer. Right now, we've had a big long season. We've got to another FA Cup final, 3 in a row. We've got back into Champions League qualification. So I think for me, if you saw me at the end on the pitch, it's not. I'm staring into space because I'm thinking about how I can close that gap. And I'm not going to have the finances that maybe an Arsenal or Manchester City are. But I think I get the dominance. But I think it sounds crazy, but I think Chelsea have in games this year been able to. You could have got them, and I don't think most teams in the league have maximised that. So let's see. I mean, they're only going to invest, Tom. So we've really got to. I've got to dig deep in my thoughts and see where I can close that gap. But I will do that for sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've worked in the States in the NWSL.
Yeah.
Wales there's a playoff system.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting idea to bring it here. Maybe about the same team with the championship.
Okay.
Try to open up a little bit.
I understand. Yeah, so I understand what you're saying. I don't know if England is ready for that type of system in terms of look, who knows, the WPL might look at that as a strategy. I think right now we just have to find a way of closing that gap to Chelsea as much as we can. The reality is you play them twice, so you've got to be almost perfect against. Like today, we'd have had to have been perfect against them. Having been in the playoff system, I think it doesn't really, for the team that's been the best team in the league for the whole of the year, they probably sometimes don't get the reward they deserve, which is to win that ending. So probably not. I don't think we're ready for it in England anyway.
Yeah, I think that was Casey's point a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't think we're ready for it.
What did he say in the huddle at the end? That went on for quite a while.
Yeah, I just said to be proud of them. So, like, it's really hard in disappointment to find the words to kind of give people some solace. So I just say I'm really proud of you for the season you've given. We have to go away. Say, for example, we don't get £1 to spend in the summer, which I know we will. So we will, but we've got to maximise what we've got in the minute. So as our players, we have to come back fitter, stronger, more aggressive. We have to concentrate more and control the controllables. And I think that's all right. Give them the power. I still believe this, and I'll believe this as long as I'm Manchester. I think we're the best team and have the best team spirit in the country. Honestly, I see it. We've got a unique spirit as a group. But now we need to maximise. George said to my sports science group, just that whatever you need, we need to maximise. Because I felt today, in some of those duels, I felt we got bounced far too easily. So I think young people will learn from that, and that's where we can grow. So that was the theme of what I was trying to say.
In terms of, I'm not talking about Sir Jim not being here, but he has said in the past that the women's team wear the shirt and they have a kind of duty to kind of back you. Mm-hmm. There's a new training ground coming on stream start of next season, hopefully. You're talking about closing the gap. Mm-hmm. How do you ensure that it doesn't get wider? Is it a simple financial manoeuvres, or is there another way?
I think it's, honestly, I think I said this, I need to go and find the other answers. I don't think it is financial. There's some finances in it, because I think we, vastly, quite openly spend less than Chelsea. They spend often and they win for it. So I don't know. I'm going to go away and find, I won't rest over the summer. I've got to find a way that we can close that different types of gap. But we do need investment as well. Of course we do. I think the club know that. We're also going through a period as a club where, things are changing and we're trying to get back in, and we understand where we're at as a club and what we need to do. So I've got to find little snippets here and there that can make us better, but there's definitely some financial closure that we need as well.
Mark, hearing your sort of explanation and rationale for having Ella Toone on the bench, wanting that impetus, that gravitas from the bench, and also getting an understanding that you feel perhaps that you have made the absolute most of the resource you have at your disposal. Mm-hmm. What would be the number one priority for you when you have the eyes that you do in the Wembley Stadium, taking a look at where the differences might be between where Manchester United are right now and where you want to be competing with Chelsea in the future?
That's a good question. I think we need that, obviously in the forward line we need variance. I think we need to have the ability to invade, not just defend. I think we're really good on transition. I think we create a lot of chances from defensive transition. But I think we need to invest in there. I think, it might need a freshen up in parts of midfield. I'm really looking forward to Simi Awujo. She hasn't played as much, but she's not been ready for it this year. Mentally, she's come into her first professional so I'm excited to see where she goes. We attack on all lines. If we need to strengthen again, maybe in full-back areas, just to add that deal. We have Hannah coming back, of course, which would be great. I think we really missed Jade today. Jade Riviere, I think we missed her massively, because when they invaded their wing backs, we would have been able to jump that a lot better. But for Aoife, it's been fantastic this season. So I think those are the areas that we need to look at. But I won't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go away from this and I'm going to look at specifically where I think players are up to, where maybe some might need to move on, some might need to stay, and who we grow. But I need a space. So we haven't had a space to do that. I need a space now to do that. And that's where I'll kind of maximise my
Does
time.
it help your cause as well that you can go to the ownership and people in influential decision-making positions and say, look, I've got this club to an FA Cup final, we've got Champions League football now. Does it help your negotiation position?
Do you know what? More importantly, I think if you watch it today, I think you see the difference, right? And I must stress, like, I love my team and I love their energy and their honesty and their commitment. And we have a lot of young players, but like I think you see the difference. You know, just look at the changes in the substitutes. And I don't mean that against ours being negative, but it's a totally different experience. And I think we need that level of experience and quality in order to really make a difference. Thank you.
Mark, just wanted to ask a bit about, you spoke at the start of the season about adaptability, sort of adapting in terms of tactical setups. I was wondering how you felt today, obviously with Chelsea going to that back three. Did you feel the team adapted to that well? And also how did or didn't kind of squad depth play a role in that? Do you think that would have helped more?
Yeah, for sure. We knew that they played a 5 against Liverpool last, so we had it in the plan. We'd gone through it pre-match with the girls anyway. The reality is we want to be an aggressive team, so you've got to be able to jump consistently. I don't know whether that's Aoife's kind of greatest of traits, whereas Jade, it perfectly fits. So I think that's an adaptation. Again, another one, Gabby and Anna are totally different kind of players. So we looked at whether it would be Anna or Gabby from the start. And I think when we won the ball, I wanted us to be more brave with it, like take people on a little bit more. But we changed shape 3 times in the game. We went 3 9s at the end. Like, we couldn't really have done much more tactically in order to make and try and adapt. And we went player for player press. And just with their quality, they're able to beat us sometimes on that 1v1, and that's where they opened us up a little bit.
So did you feel that came down to kind of those individual qualities and moments rather than the team sort of struggling to adapt to those positional shifts? How did you think they coped with those kind of demands?
Yeah, I think they were right. Honestly, I thought they were right. Like, they see them, they rotate. We could have jumped a centre-half in to one of their 10, Sandy or Aggie Beaver, when they dropped in. We wanted to do that quick at half-time. We had a lot more balance with that. And again, the game gets away on set pieces. So when they score, it obviously gives them rhythm. And at the end, we go player for player. So we set the ball back and we create a mistake and that goes in. But again, you watch that shouldn't be a mistake. That should be a set to Anna who plays line. Those are the details. But I don't think Chelsea make those mistakes just because of their experience. Honestly, I asked Sonia. Sonia will not have to walk them through half the things that they will do themselves. She spoke about picking up Emma's legacy. Well, Emma's legacy probably is to build a robust team that can actually take the responsibility in those moments, because they're used to them. They've won a lot. So that's what we don't have. And that's something, if I want to bridge a gap, that might be a way that we do it, is buying those kind of people that have been and won that and putting them into our team as well. But there was some adaptations. We couldn't physically get to them today. I think they were better than us physically, and it's something that I've also still got to look at.
Megan?
Hi, Mark. So looking a little bit more forward, we're talking about closing the gap and looking at this game maybe as a jumping point. So where do you see yourself in 12 months' time? Do you see yourself back here? Like, what do you want to see from the squad?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the reality is if we can qualify for the Champions League, then it's going to add more burden to the squad, right? Because you're going to be having higher profile games midweek and then potentially Chelsea on the weekend. So, we would need to invest in the summer. Like, we need to get the right depth. If we don't, then you'll struggle. I think you've seen Manchester City this year, when they get injuries because they're stretching to that point, they then dip off. And it kind of tends to be the curve, right? Arsenal the same the year before. Like, it tends to be curves and dips. So I think Chelsea probably the only team that, although they're not yet where they want to be, which is Champions League, they've invested in the squad enough for them to have that depth and be able to cover those midweek to weekend games. That will be the challenge for us, for sure. You know, I think we have the quality to qualify for Champions League, but being able to spread the squad thin over 3 games a week, that will be probably one of my biggest challenges.
And just in terms of timing, I mean, I'm assuming everyone wants to go on holiday. You probably deserve a holiday. It's been a really long season. But when do those conversations begin for you? When do you want to start having that and moving forward this summer?
Sorry, question. Conversations
like just
regarding
conversations with the people, like, you know, Omar.
Oh
and the
no,
people that are
yeah,
here.
no. They've been going on for a while. Like I'm not going to get to the end of the season and go, now I start to think. No. I've been speaking with Matt Johnson around how we need to design this squad. We've been working on it. And sometimes maybe it is as simple as getting that depth of the team. It's got to be that. Like today, I genuinely mean this. I don't want any one of my players to walk out without their head held high because of what they've done this season. But we still need to increase the quality if we want to challenge Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City on a consistent basis, and not just qualify for Champions League, but give it a go. So I think that's what it will boil down to.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hello, mate.
Hi, Mark. Just on that, I spoke to Gareth Taylor earlier this season and said, like, their squad is quite thin, even without the injuries. And he was saying, well, Chelsea can build a big squad because they're in the Champions League every year. But do you think it has to be, you have to build there to get there? You can't just build it?
No, you have to build it before. You can't just get there and build it. The thing it does is it spotlights your team. It gives them probably a little bit more investment because they know it's a challenge of Champions League. So you do get a little bit more, especially to a club like us. We're not going to go out and spend multi-millions. Like you look at Chelsea's winter window, right? It just tells you the difference, right? So no, I mean, we can't wait. We've got to do it now. I'm trying to do that, trust me. I have been on calls with numerous amounts of people, players, agents, and I feel that, should we be able to get those move, we have to move the needle before we get to that point. Otherwise, we'll fail. I have no doubt. Look, I'm honest, and if we don't do that squad depth, as good, we'll be brilliant in a moment. One game might be the moment, but then it's got to be the depth because it's got to be that hunger. Also does aim, which I've probably not spoken about, is when you have quality in each position and you have depth in there, it creates competition that no coach's words can motivate. Because it's that person stopping me progressing, not just the coach is telling me I can't do it. So Chelsea have that. Chelsea will not be a happy dressing room when they're not playing, but they win. So it keeps them quiet. That's the reality of football. So if we want to be successful, we have to go to that depth. But it's not going to be as easy as that for me. I've got to find diamonds that can also, make us better as well.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Team, thank you for all your questions. I hope you have a fantastic summer, and I'll see you all next season. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.